For more than 1,000 years, one empire stood at the very center of the known world, guarding the legacy of Rome while civilizations around it rose and fell. While Western Europe fractured into chaos, war, and intellectual darkness, this empire remained astonishingly wealthy, deeply educated, technologically advanced, and fiercely resilient. It was an empire of gold and stone, faith and fire, diplomacy and warfare. An empire that history often overlooks, yet one without which the modern world would not exist. This was the Byzantine Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire in truth, the longest-lasting Roman state in history, and one of humanity's greatest achievements. By the late 3rd century AD, the Roman Empire was facing total collapse. Endless civil wars had weakened the army, inflation shattered the economy, and foreign invasions struck at every border. Emperors rose and fell at terrifying speed, some ruling for mere weeks before being assassinated. The sheer size of the empire had become unmanageable. Governing lands stretching from Britain to Egypt and from Spain to Mesopotamia from a single capital was no longer possible. In 285 AD, Emperor Diocletian made a decision that would change history. He divided the empire into eastern and western halves, each with its own ruler, administration, and military command. Though intended as a temporary measure, this division reflected a deeper reality. The East and West were no longer the same world. The eastern provinces were wealthier, more urbanized, and more connected to ancient centers of learning. Greek culture dominated daily life, trade routes flowed toward Asia, and Christianity was spreading rapidly. Into this transforming empire stepped Constantine the Great, a man whose decisions would shape the next millennium of civilization. After winning decisive civil wars in 312 AD, Constantine emerged as sole ruler. According to tradition, he experienced a divine vision before battle that led him to embrace Christianity, ending centuries of state-sponsored persecution. Yet his most consequential choice came in 330 AD, when he founded a new capital city on the ancient Greek site of Byzantium. Constantine renamed the city Constantinople and declared it the New Rome. Strategically positioned on the Bosporus Strait, the city controlled trade between Europe and Asia, the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. It was surrounded by water on 3 sides, naturally defensible and economically unrivaled. Constantine poured enormous resources into its construction, building palaces, churches, forums, aqueducts, and massive defensive walls. He transferred imperial institutions, wealth, and noble families eastward, permanently shifting the center of Roman power. When Constantine died in 337 AD, Constantinople was already emerging as the most magnificent city in the world. In 395 AD, the Roman Empire officially split into 2 permanent political entities. The Western Roman Empire entered its final decline, battered by invasions, internal decay, and economic collapse. Rome was sacked, cities emptied, and in 476 AD the last Western emperor was deposed. To many, this marked the fall of Rome. But Rome did not fall, it survived in the east. From Constantinople, the Eastern Roman Empire continued uninterrupted. These people never called themselves Byzantines, a name imposed by later historians. They called themselves Romans, and they believed wholeheartedly that they were the legitimate heirs of Caesar and Augustus. Over time, their empire evolved into something unique, a blend of Roman governance, Greek culture, and Christian theology that formed a civilization unlike any other. The Byzantine state was highly centralized and remarkably flexible. Emperors ruled as absolute monarchs, yet relied on complex bureaucratic systems staffed by educated officials. Diplomacy became a Byzantine art form, where brute force failed, bribery, marriage alliances, religious influence, and psychological warfare succeeded. Again and again, enemies who should have destroyed the empire were instead neutralized or turned against one another. The empire reached a spectacular peak during the reign of Emperor Justinian I in the 6th century. Justinian believed it was his divine mission to restore the Roman Empire in its ancient entirety. Through brilliant generals, particularly Belisarius, Byzantine armies reconquered North Africa, Italy, and parts of Spain. For a brief moment, nearly the entire Mediterranean world was reunited under Roman rule. Yet Justinian's legacy extended far beyond warfare. He understood that an empire is held together not only by swords, but by laws. Over centuries, Roman law had become fragmented, contradictory, and obscure. Justinian ordered scholars to compile and organize all existing legal decisions into a single coherent system. The result was the Corpus Juris Civilis, known as the Justinian Code, which became the foundation of legal systems across Europe and still influences modern law today. Justinian also transformed Byzantine architecture and religious identity. After violent riots destroyed much of Constantinople, he ordered the construction of the Hagia Sophia. Completed in just 5 years, its massive dome appeared to float upon light itself. Gold mosaics reflected divine radiance, creating a space meant to inspire awe and submission to both God and emperor. For nearly 1,000 years, it remained the largest church on earth. At its height, Constantinople was the most advanced urban center in the world. Its population surpassed 500,000. The city had paved streets, street lighting, running water, public hospitals, universities, and vast libraries. While literacy collapsed in the West, Byzantine scholars preserved ancient Greek philosophy, Roman history, mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. Plato, Aristotle, Euclid, and Galen survived because Byzantium protected their works. Yet the Byzantine Empire existed in a constant state of threat. Its wealth attracted enemies from every direction. To the east, the Persian Empire waged grinding wars that drained both states. In the 7th century, the Persians came dangerously close to destroying Byzantium entirely. Emperor Heraclius launched a near-impossible counteroffensive, marching deep into enemy territory and achieving a decisive victory, saving the empire at the brink of annihilation. Almost immediately, a new challenge emerged. United by Islam, Arab armies surged from the Arabian Peninsula with astonishing speed. Within decades, Byzantine territories that had been Roman for centuries, Syria, Egypt, and North Africa, were lost forever. These lands had been the empire's richest provinces. Constantinople itself endured multiple sieges, surviving only due to its walls and a secret weapon known as Greek fire, a terrifying incendiary substance that burned even on water. Internal conflict proved just as destructive as foreign enemies. The iconoclast controversy tore the empire apart for more than a century, as emperors attempted to ban religious images, triggering civil wars, revolts, and the destruction of priceless art. Although icons were eventually restored, the empire emerged weakened and divided. Despite everything, Byzantium revived yet again. Under the Macedonian dynasty, it experienced military victories, economic recovery, and cultural renewal. Trade flourished, art and literature thrived, and the empire once again projected power abroad. But new dangers were already forming beyond its borders. In 1071, everything changed at the Battle of Manzikert. The Byzantine army was destroyed by Seljuk Turkish forces, and the emperor was captured. Anatolia, the empire's heartland and primary recruitment base, collapsed into chaos. This defeat shattered Byzantine military dominance and began a long, irreversible decline. Desperate for help, Byzantine emperors turned to Western Europe. What followed were the Crusades, armed pilgrimages that promised salvation but brought disaster. While early Crusades provided limited assistance, relations between East and West deteriorated rapidly. Cultural mistrust, religious hostility, and greed poisoned cooperation. In 1204, betrayal reached its peak. During the Fourth Crusade, Western Crusaders attacked and sacked Constantinople itself. The greatest city in Christendom was looted, burned, and desecrated. Ancient treasures were destroyed or carried off to Europe. The Byzantine Empire fractured into competing states and never fully recovered, even after recapturing the city decades later. In its final centuries, Byzantium was a ghost of its former glory. Civil wars drained its strength, its economy fell under foreign control, and its territory shrank steadily. A new power rose in Anatolia, the Ottoman Turks, disciplined, patient, and relentlessly ambitious. By the 15th century, Constantinople stood isolated, surrounded, and exhausted. Its population dwindled, its defenses aged, and its pleas for Western aid went largely unanswered. In 1453, A young sultan named Mehmed II launched the final assault. Massive cannons shattered walls that had stood for a millennium. After 53 days of resistance, the city fell. Emperor Constantine XI died fighting, and with him ended the Roman Empire after nearly 2,000 years. Yet Byzantium did not truly die. Its scholars fled west, igniting the Renaissance. Its religious traditions shaped Eastern Europe and Russia. Its laws molded modern legal systems. Its art, architecture, and ideas still define civilizations. The Byzantine Empire was Rome's longest chapter, humanity's greatest bridge between ancient and modern worlds. Forgotten by many, misunderstood by most, but essential to everything that came after.